Getting a little bit warmer. I'm in Brooklyn, New York City, enjoying the weather, biking around, and today I've got the Cannondale Mavaro, and this is what they call Performance, and I think that name is inspired from Bosch Performance line. So again, Cannondale Mavaro Performance. It's an electric bike that really blends in. I would call this like a super commuter, potentially even a touring bike. The battery combination here is the 400 watt hour power pack and 350 watt mid drive. It's a great system. It kind of balances things out, and this bike does come in the high step that we see here, as well as a step-thru frame. And it comes in about 5 different sizes, so that's impressive. And as someone who's heard about Cannondale for a long time, kind of a trusted, bigger brand, it's exciting to see, what they've done for their electric bike. This is the first one I've ever seen, actually, and it's really nice looking. It's got their kind of proprietary head shock here, 50 millimeters of travel. No lockout on that, but it's still nice. It's got some cushion there, some extra maybe like rack mounting points here on the fork. Got some bottle cage bosses, some nice fenders, real lightweight, and they're kind of aluminum with support struts. Same thing on the back. The wires, you can see, are integrated right through the tubing, and that's because it's got an integrated LED light on the rack. That's really cool. I rarely see stuff that's that purpose made. And then up here we've got this H-dive LED, kind of standard light, but it can be adjusted a little bit, and it also runs off the battery pack. You'll see all the wires and brake cables and everything, they all go through the frame. So this is a purpose-built electric bike, but it's one that just doesn't look so flashy. It's one that kind of blends in a little bit more, and especially if you use these kind of like extruded pannier hangers. There's a little clip for if you have the bungee thing. A lot of times panniers, you kind of clip them on. That's really nice to have, and it keeps those a little lower than the top. You might have a trunk bag here. It looks like it's rack time compatible with those holes. So just a lot of good work being done here. The bike isn't super duper light. I mean, I haven't actually seen the step-thru version, which of course would be a little bit easier to mount. This one's a little bit stiffer. It's gonna be easier to hang off the back of the car or on the bus. Anyway, this one's about 49.5 pounds. So, kind of the 50-pound range. That's pretty standard for a lot of electric bikes that I see. You've got standard 9mm skewers here, but we've got quick release, both front and rear, and that's something that's really nice if you do have to do some maintenance on the fly, if you get a flat tire or you're just truing the spokes or adjusting the gears or something like that. The tires on this are definitely more efficient. So these are the Schwabe Little Big Ben, and they're 700C. And so that's kind of the larger 28 inches about size by 1.5. Not super wide, not super cushiony, but they're not as narrow as true road bike tires. So it's a good kind of compromise, I think, for someone who's trying to get that efficiency in city riding. Nice reflective sidewall stripe for safety. And these ones do have the Performance line race guard, so it's meant to be a little bit more puncture resistant. But again, you got the quick release, so that's it's kind of a nice trade-off. They've really thought this through. A lot of good equipment on this. Metropolis cranks, just sort of these, I don't know, kind of the plastic resin with a little bit of grip on them. That's one area where I personally might upgrade, get some Welgo pedals or something online, just a little bit bigger with some kind of metal contact points. It's not terrible, and again, hopefully you're going to be staying dry because these fenders go really far down, so it's really going to keep the splash off of even your feet and your shins. Love that they've got this chain cover here, and this is sort of like the plastic aluminum coated. It's a little bit nicer, and I think that's an 18-tooth chain ring, 10 sprockets in the rear. Pretty good range on this thing. It's definitely nice equipment. Shimano Dior. Want to call out this Trellick RS 450. This is a cafe lock, and it uses a key over here that's the same key that gets the battery, so you don't have to worry about carrying two, and it stays locked in like that. You can't pull it out until you lock the bike, and you slide this and a piece of metal goes right through there. So it's not the kind of thing that would completely protect your bike. Someone could still come and grab this and run away with it, but they couldn't ride it until they dealt with that lock. So that's a cool European feature. I think this bike was designed in Amsterdam. That's what I'm hearing, kind of a European influence. Gonna get a little bit more info about that later. But I want to come back to what makes an electric bike. The Powerpack 400, 36 volts, 11 amp hours. I'm used to seeing that kind of down tube mounted, but then it takes this spot where the bottle cage might go. So Bringing it to the back, it makes it a little bit more rear heavy, but I think it's only like 5.7 pounds. It's not super heavy. And again, they're really making use of that rack, and it's really solid just being welded onto the frame like that. It says max weight 25 kilograms. That's about 55 pounds, and I believe it. That's great. Down here, we got the Bosch Performance line motor. We talked about 350 watts, 63 Newton meters of power. Very efficient. It's very quick and responsive, and it's one of my favorite mid-drive motors on the market today, in part because it just measures so many things, and it gives you that great feedback. So wheel speed is one. There's like a little magnet right here. Pedal cadence is another, and pedal torque is the third, so how hard you're pushing. So if you're just relaxed and kind of going light, the motor's going to respond in kind. It's going to be kind of gentle. But then as soon as you need to cross that street or catch up to someone, make that light, you pedal a little harder, and it responds very quickly. And then when you stop, it stops. Really love that. Speaking of stopping, we've got Magura MT4 hydraulic disc brakes on this, adjustable reach on those levers. So if you get the step-through version of this frame and you want to bring them in a little bit so you don't have to reach as far, you can totally do that. 180 millimeters on the front, 160 in the rear, kind of standard. Cannondale branded kickstand down there. The grips are nice. They feel good, but they're not locking. They're just kind of rubber, ergonomic. I love that it's got an adjustable stem, though. That's cool, and kind of an oversized head tube for a little bit more sturdy, especially given that head shock. Lots of good stuff, and even like a little bell for safety. So it's cool. Cellular saddle, soft, comfortable. I think at this point I might introduce the charger. This is something I've been skipping recently. 4 amp charger, so it's a little bit faster, but it's only 1.7 pounds, and it's just something you could easily fit, if you had that trunk bag that I'm talking about. And they even have some that are like backpacks, so you could take it off and throw it over your shoulder and take it into work with you, something like that. It's great to get all that equipment off your back, so when you're riding this, and then get that upright position so you're not leaning over. They've done this right, and it's really nice looking frame, kind of this silvery color. So I'm here with Chris Nolte from Propel Bikes. How's it going, Chris?
Hey guys.
You carry this bike. It's the first time I've kind of seen it, and you're pretty particular about what you carry. Can you tell me a little bit about what stands out? Maybe something about Cannondale?
Yeah, Cannondale, they've been around a little while. They've always been known for a lot of innovations, specifically with aluminum. They have the flex in the areas where you need it to give some comfort, but stiffness in the area to deliver power, and they're really smart about that. They've been producing electric bikes in Europe for a while, and we're just really excited for the stuff that they've been bringing over. Really high quality and great attention to detail.
One of your shop guys, Kyle, your brother, he was telling me about, he's like, yeah, this was designed in Amsterdam or something. Do you know anything about that? Is he?
Right, yeah, it's designed, I believe it was designed, I believe it was welded in Amsterdam as well, which is kind of a unique thing. It's not so common. Yeah. Most of the bike frames these days made in Taiwan or that sort of thing, or cool. Even China.
Yeah, Amsterdam, shout out. It's an awesome place. They've got tons of bikes. Really leading the way with some of the designs and stuff over there, in like Holland and in Germany, and Europe is really adopted e-bikes. So that you can see so much of this is set up. I think I grew up with bikes that looked a lot like this, but they didn't have the shock, and coming back to that comfort on your wrists and on your hands as someone who types a lot, that's kind of a neat upgrade.
Right, having the head shock as well as the balloon tire is really nice. The little big bends, they're not super wide, but they're wide enough, and you can still run them at a little bit lower pressure for that comfort, which is really nice.
Yeah, I like to see that. Have you actually seen one of the step-through ones? Because at your shop, you got the high steps right now.
Oh yeah, sure. I believe they're actually sold out at the moment, the low steps. So both of them are pretty popular. This happens to be one of the largest frame bikes. It's really good for like super tall riders,
Thank you for calling that out. Chris was like, "Hey, we got a smaller one," and I was like, "Do it! No, I want the biggest one, just to show what it looks like.
Right.
Like, look how tall this thing is." A lot of times, as the taller guys, it's hard to find. I wrote an article like good bikes for like little petite people and good bikes for big people. Sometimes big means like heavier. Sometimes big means tall.
Right.
I'm not super tall, but I'm like 5'9". And I was able to ride this. I just dropped the seat down here. But if you're a really tall person, you can dial that stem forward. I think it's like 94 millimeter long. You can dial it forward, and then these handlebars, you could really set this up and feel more comfortable, I think. And that's important, especially if you're commuting. And the range on this, they estimate like 30 to 60 miles, and that's pretty it's pretty accurate, you know, especially if you're just on the streets like we are here. You're not doing a ton of climbing. You're going to be able to get good range on the lower levels of assist. One con, you know, in addition to kind of the pedals here and maybe the absence of a second bottle cage, that would be nice. It's a more expensive bike. I mean, I don't know if it's because it was made in the Netherlands or something. I think on the website it was like $44.60. Right. But you know, you get what you pay for. The Bosch system's really great. 2-year comprehensive warranty on the electronics, and Cannondale, in some of their frames, it's lifetime warranty. Others, it's like 3 years. So you know, again, having little extras all across the bike, this is gonna last for you. And the battery is removable, so you could charge it on or off the frame. A lot of times I'm calling that out. I'm like, hey, just take the battery off. If it's snowing, you're in New York, or if you're parked in a dangerous neighborhood, the display comes off. Love that. Just take it with you so no one can get the bike going. Let's go ahead and power this thing on. It's just a one step. You just press that power button. Comes to life. You got your speed, battery capacity with 5 dots there, 20% increments. And then down here, we've got a bunch of different readouts. You press the I, or over here, you press it so you don't have to take your hand off the grip. We cycle through trip distance, clock, max speed, average speed, trip time, and there was an odometer as well. Range is cool because as you increase the power assist level here, there are 4 levels. As you increase it, it shows you an estimate of how far it can go. So right now it says, hey, 65 miles in eco, and this is pretty fully charged. I just rode it, you know, a little ways. Let's arrow up a little higher to like turbo, and it drops down to 25 miles. So you can really see, you know, depending on how much power you're getting from that motor, you're gonna get different range. And part of it's speed. So, you know, in the highest level of assist, this will get you to 20 miles per hour, and then it'll cut out. In the lower levels, you know, 10, 15 miles. You're more like relaxed, a little bit quieter on the motor operation and stuff too. So yeah, I think this might be a good chance to just hop on the bike and do some riding on the streets where this thing belongs. Ride back to the shop?
Sounds good.
Let's do it. I like that the kickstand's mounted, you know, pretty far back too, so you don't come into contact with that crank arm at all. It's pretty tight too. You notice how quickly and hard that snapped up? Sometimes kickstands bounce around a little bit more, or they'll flop down. I'm gonna do this ride test in the highest level of assist just so you can hear the motor and get a sense for, you know, how zippy it is. Unfortunately, you're not gonna be able to see the chainring spinning. I've done this same sort of shot with other e-bikes that use the Bosch system, but it's so fast, it's very responsive. Oh, and if you are stepping on it like this with a high step, I often swing my leg over. Just be careful not to clock your leg. Oh, and then the lights, I don't wanna miss out on that. You press that little light button and then, you know, they come to life. Both front and rear lights. That's a big benefit, something I'm always thinking about, like the safety thing, along with those reflective sidewalls. Just barely making it here with the standover height. Here we go. We're already past 20 miles per hour. I mean, it's just super efficient, this bike. When you've got that motor and you're on smooth pavement like this, it's no problem. it does have shift sensing, so it's designed to take some pressure off the motor when you shift, so you don't wear your chain and sprockets as much. I'm gonna try to shift and show that. Even though this is one of their bigger frames, I'm able to sit pretty comfortably just because we dialed up those handlebars. So it's kind of a bike you could even grow into if you got a smaller one. You could set the bars up a little bit higher. Oh man, no problem. And I'm climbing. This is a climb here. It's super zippy. And you do hear the motor a little bit kind of whining, but you know, with the city noise and stuff, it kind of overcomes. That's one of the areas the Bosch chainring spins at like twice as fast as you're actually pedaling because it's a little bit smaller, the 18 teeth I was talking about. But it keeps everything compact, it makes it very responsive. Chris, can I trade you bikes? I just wanted to show you what it looks like for someone else to be riding. You can see that head shock really giving us some action. There we go. Yeah, I love that rear light. A little tall for you too. There we go. Ready? Sweet. Well, Chris, I appreciate you risking your life in traffic with me, getting some of those shots. You know, it's been fun to check out these bikes at your shop. Neat to see some stuff from overseas, a little bit more refined. And, you know, I've measured this, only had the high step version, so, you know, I did some standover measurements, did the weight and stuff. I'll have the rest of the specs at ElectricBikeReview.com. Of course, as always, you're riding out there with traffic. Be safe.